There's that gap in there that threw me off between.
Yeah, I
did. Hey, what's up, guys? Jason, we're Thin Line Defense. You got Walsh. How we do this? That way. Misfit is with us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Appreciate him being on. So we are Thin Line Defense, your neighborhood gun gear outdoor review channel. What is up, Harry? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I have a hard time because I want to say welcome YouTube or like hi YouTube, but we're not on YouTube only. We're on everything now. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Misfit, it's good to have you on.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, we asked Misfit to come on the show this week because he actually attended was it a rifle course or a pistol course? Was it both?
It was actually both. So it was like morning was pistol, afternoon was rifle. So it was like an intro to both, basically.
So give us a little bit of background. What was your training like before?
Nothing. This is my first like formal course. Like I got my CD, my concealed carry last year, and just like going to the range. But in terms of like formal training with someone, this is my first time.
So where would you kind of rank your skills from like 1 to 10 before going?
Before going, I was like woefully average, I would say. Probably just like a 5 across the board, like nothing spectacular. I can put shots on paper, but
yeah.
I mean,
could you like group them? Get a good little pistol group going?
Yeah, I mean, like at like 10, 15 yards, I could get like a decent group going. You know, have a couple flyers here and there, but in terms of like moving and adding anything else to it, it was kind of all over the place. So that's why the class was so important.
Joe says, "Oh wow, I actually got a notification." So Joe, it's Joe, right?
Yeah.
Am I saying that right? Yeah. So Joe, the little bell icon next to the subscribe, if you're on YouTube, that'll make sure that you get all notifications. So it might be clicked to just some. If you go up to the little bell next to the subscribe button, change that to I think on or always or whatever it is. So it sends you all notifications. That'll help out. So Misfit, as you were talking, it reminded me of the first time I took my wife shooting. So I bought her a little revolver. We went out and at 7 yards, she did not hit paper at all. And so 7 yards, did not hit paper at all. And come to find out, so she's right-handed, and I was trying to teach her how I shoot. So I'm right-handed, I'm right-eye dominant, and that's how I was trying to teach her. And so middle of it, I mean, she got off a couple rounds, and she was like, "Can I shoot with my left hand?" Yeah, sure. Can I try closing my right eye and shooting my left eye? Turns out, even though she does everything else right-handed, she shoots left-handed and she's left-eye dominant. Once we figured that out, wow. She was nailing it. Yeah.
So I definitely want to hear about your training, but just I want to give you a little bit of history. So kind of part of why I'm sure you've seen some kind of part of how we started this channel. We used to do some Cerakoting and knife building, and then the channel was actually I was just learning how to shoot a pistol. Like I wanted to learn how to shoot a pistol, so we started documenting it. And I don't know if you saw any of those videos, but I just did a ton of reps. Like it really was like, you just got to put in the time, you got to put in the work. And it's not that much. It's not that much time, not that much work. I think most people could get really proficient in like 6 weeks. I'll be honest with you. I think you could get really, really good from like pretty nothing to really good in like
without shooting a gun.
Yeah, and at the end, I did all of it dry, all of it just weapon manipulation, and then went and shot at the end and was like let's try it 25 yards. And it was just like headshot. Like wow, that's neat. So interesting. So let's hear your kind of your experience. And you said the beginning was the pistol course,
right? So when I first got there, basically he kind of wanted to see where we were. So it was like he started at 25 yards and just
start.
Right, and just say you got 10 minutes to put 10 shots on cardboard, and then he gave us like 2 minutes, and then I think it was like a minute or like 30 seconds for like the last one, just to see how kind of where everybody was. So I mean, we had some really good guys. Like some guys were getting like 7, 8, 9 out of the 10 on paper. I was like super nervous and was like rushing it, and I think I got like 4 or 5 on like paper. like the first. Well, I would say not paper, but like it was on the zone. So like you have the A zone, C zone, D zone. So he was only counting A zone hits. I was getting them like on the cardboard, but they weren't like good hits. But then like the great thing about class, I think people don't realize, is that, you know, having a coach there that's watching you, that can correct you like in the middle of what you're doing, makes like a huge difference. So like it was simple things like my grip was like a little bit off. I wasn't like vicing down enough, like where you kind of like can't your elbows up to put that kind of vice grip on the
So kind of
pistol.
show the technique to the people, because a lot of people, I would say a lot of people get their support hand pressure wrong, and that's where you get
Right.
like the low rights or the low left, because you're not just like smashing into the gun.
Yeah, so like the biggest thing is that, you know, you kind of want to get your like elbows up and kind of like really make your hand almost like a vice on that gun, and just doing that, and also making sure that filling that gap. Like I had my support hand a little bit too far forward, and once I slid it back right up against my right hand, that I mean, once I made those like two small adjustments, like I went from like, you know, like a probably like a spread of like 5 to 6 inches to going down to like knocking them out within like a quarter size, like $half size. I mean, it was a huge difference. I mean,
So just a small tweak, real quick. Hey, I just want to say hi to Brownie. Jason, I'm going to steal that from you. But so you would say that you just did a small tweak then, and that really just kind of what cleaned you up. You just had one thing that you really didn't even know. You probably had no idea you were even doing wrong, and it was throwing you off. And you're like, oh, here we go.
Yeah,
here we go, done.
Yeah. It was like a small like vicing it down, filling up the grip. And once I did that, like my mechanics and everything else was like fine on me. It was like, you know, like the thumbs forward grip that like all the cool guys on like
Cool guys.
like teach nowadays. I mean, because everybody teaches it basically these days, like pretty similar. Like nobody has like the 80s like teacup grip going on. So as long as you like watching videos.
We should do a teacup challenge. Like I want to do like a teacup challenge with Jason. Like who can shoot the best with the teacup grip?
The teacup grip, yeah.
Yeah. No thanks.
I mean,
one thing I saw, and I kind of was explaining
really
this to Joe in our Instagram chat earlier today, talking about how to grip too, where some people just like put the gun just like holding it out in space, like they're not like there's no real like effort to control it. Where what I like to explain to people is this hand should be making a force into this shoulder, and then this hand should be making another triangular force into this shoulder. So when the hands meet, now there's a force driving in either direction. So the gun's not just, you're not just like hanging out in space.
All willy-nilly.
Yeah, you're not just all willing. You're actively just driving. Like there's nowhere for it to go, and you're controlling, because then you're controlling the recoil, which then becomes probably the next thing you're going to probably talk about is how to get into recoil control. Because then you start controlling the path of recoil instead of just, you know, I've just gripped it. But no, I'm putting force here. So now the recoil and direction of recoil is controlled in a particular direction. So yeah. Sorry.
Exactly.
You go ahead. This is your story.
So like
How do I mute
the things that we talked about for pistol was, first thing was grip. Like fixing grip honestly solves like 90% of like the problems that a lot of people have. I think is like having good grip, and also like not like. There was like one guy there, and he was gripping like, hey, he had like the death grip with his right hand, and when he was trying to use his trigger finger, like he lost all his dexterity. So he was pulling shots, but like just loosen up and like let the support hand do most of the work for you, and make sure you're not having like a death grip. And that was pretty much it. Stance. We talked about sight alignment. I started using red dots pretty early. Like I started out with my first pistol was a Glock 17, and I got really proficient with that. So like I used you know, like on sights for the longest time, put a lot of shots through that gun, great gun. But then I was like, I really want to go with like a red dot. So I knew that either I was like going to pay like $500 to get it like milled and like the slide work done and all that,
Yeah.
So I sold the Glock for like more than what I paid for, and got shadow systems and just
Nice.
You got good stuff
on
too.
it. Yeah, just mount the housing on it, and dude, it's such a good pistol.
You just show up to class like, hey, I'd like to learn with the shadow system with the red dot. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I bought this online.
But so then we actually talked about like different types of trigger pulls, which I had never really thought about it. Like in terms of like the different ways to actually pull the trigger. So like you have like slapping the trigger. He talked about like finding like the reset, which is like what all like the cool guys teach on YouTube,
I love that,
like
the
social
cool
media. Yeah. And
do you know what they mean? And I may be going to this with everybody when they go to shoot. Do you know what they mean by the wall? Because if you don't encroach on the wall before you shoot, you're gonna punch anyway. Do you know what they mean? Like, do you know exactly what they're saying?
Yeah, like John, the warrior poet guy talks about like the off arm. Like getting off the like once you pull through, getting off it and getting back on the wall
so that's for
as
the
soon as
reset.
possible.
Yeah,
Right.
I just want to explain to people. So when we talk about getting on the wall, and this is super important for shooting. And Jason, if I'm talking out of my butt, you correct me because you're good about that. But when you go to get on the trigger, and this is what I've learned. This is why it's good to have Jason correct me, because you can be like, no, Walsh, you learned wrong. When you go to pull the trigger, you get to a point where it's like a little bit sloppy, and you want to make sure to take all that up before you break the shot. So I kind of get where you're loading the sear basically, and then you want to take a shot. So when I go to, like you said, get back off of it, what I try not to do is go all the way back off. I try to get back to that sear reset.
Right.
So you're back on the wall. If you don't, you're gonna go through all that mush. Like you're gonna go like mush, stick, boom, and you're gonna do some weird stuff with it. So
well, that's when you're gonna start flinging rounds a lot. I mean, you're absolutely right. One of the things that you need to be aware of, though, with a lot of modern firearms like Glocks or your SIG, you don't have a like I trained in the military. We had a SIG P228 or the M11, so it's a double action, single action. So your first trigger pull is like I don't know. I'm probably exaggerating, but it was like a 9-pound trigger pull, and then after that it was like a 3-pound or 4 or 5-pound trigger pull. So you have different take up for each of those trigger pulls before you hit to the sear portion. But with a Glock, weird. So with my Glock, it's great because I know exactly, like I shoot it so often, I know exactly where I need to release my finger to get to that reset and then go again. And it's like milliseconds of time that you're saving when you're not taking up that mush. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but once you get used to that, man, it's just, you're so much more accurate and you're just a better all-around shooter.
And Misfit, did they talk to you at all about, and sometimes, because sometimes people think of shooting, I don't have a pen nearby, but like take a pen and they're like, this is how I shoot. Where when you start to get really good at shooting, you realize it's a lot with your thumb too. Like if you really start getting on it, you don't do as much. I kind of just put my finger, I get everything taken up on the sear and the way my thumb's at, and then I squeeze like a vice. So when I'm firing, and these are just different techniques, we'll kind of do it a little bit differently, but then I'm not doing anything besides just squeezing the actual whole gun, right? So I'm not like punching like all over the place. You actually like, I'm almost driving my thumb forward, and that's what makes the trigger actually activate. And if you do that just fairly quickly, you kind of train into it, obviously, but then you're not like punching the shots or getting your finger on weird spots where all that matters too. But
yeah. So there's a lot of cool products that are out. Like Hyperfire has a trigger with a shoe. They put a trigger shoe on it. So I'm going to put my finger on the exact same spot on the trigger each time. You don't see that too often with pistol triggers. You have some like the Apex trigger where you have a flat face trigger with like a little hook at the bottom that okay, I know where I want that on my finger. But a standard Glock trigger, you're not gonna have that. I don't know about SIG. How your P320 is. They
don't. They're just curved. But mine, I got the Apex like you have. It just has like little notch, and I need that for when I reach to know where I'm sitting at for like an index point. I don't know what I would do without it. I would be less consistent for sure. Misfit, sorry, we will get on a tangent. Sorry, you are the one teaching us today.
No, I mean, this is still good information because like I think one of the most important things is to constantly be like learning something small and something new from like everybody. So like we talk about the different types of of trigger pulls, but also something that really got me was that you can have a different trigger pull at different distances based upon like what you're trying to accomplish. You know, like if I'm like 5 to 10 yards in, if I have good grip, like I can slap the trigger and it's going to still be accurate enough. You know, like even if I slap it. And if I get like 15, 20, 25 yards, well, now I need to have like a much smoother pull, check my sight alignment more, all of that to make sure that I'm actually putting shots on target. So I thought that was pretty interesting that, you know, everybody always preaches like, don't slap it, but, you know, if you're in a situation that
sometimes it's warranted.
Right.
And there's a trade-off you're realizing. You're trading speed and accuracy. Yeah. So you're having to determine when accuracy, like I'm with you, when I'm within 5 yards, accuracy don't matter. Like I can hit the broadside of a barn. Like I could just shoot blind. Yeah. I could probably not even have my eyes open and hit 5 yards just from the muscle memory of everything. Yeah. So I'm with you. It doesn't matter what my trigger pull is. I can just rip them off. It doesn't matter.
So there's a great video if you guys watch Instructor Zero. I love watching that guy. So he has a video where he has, I forgot how far, it's like 15 yards away. He just has a pole, like a stop sign pole 15 yards away. And he's there. He draws, he shoots once, he misses, draws and shoots again, and he hits the pole. And then the camera comes up, like the cameraman comes up behind him, and he doesn't have any sights on his gun. Like the rear sight's gone, the front sight's gone. That's just like what Walsh was talking about. Like you get into the point where you have muscle memory, you know how your gun feels, you just know where it's going to shoot. Man, you're hitting a 1-inch target at 15 yards, no problem.
And people think like that takes rounds. Like that's the hard part. You're like, well, I gotta go shoot 1,000 rounds. Like there is not one part of that is rounds. That's just standing there watching a TV show, and you're just like, whoop, you just that's what I was doing toward the beginning, just all day. You're like, is Walsh really just gonna sit there and rep? Like I would be at a meeting, like I'd be like be teleworking and listen to a meeting, and the whole time, like, yeah, okay, and then just keep running it, and then at the end, you just keep doing everything.
Yeah. So,
real quick, Coops. I haven't talked to Coops in forever, so I just want to say hi to him. He helps me with my Tika shooting.
Awesome. Welcome, Coops. Hey, Harry had posted a comment. He said, "Can you share what company you did the course with?"
Yeah. So it was with IBX Tactical, but the guy I think is affiliated with the Arcane Group, and they travel like nationwide. So,
cool.
It's a ARCANE group. And if you go on the website, they're all over, like Northeast, East. I mean, and they're also scheduled. So if you have a group, they'll come out to you too. So
nice.
It's awesome.
But I thought it was really high quality in terms of the instruction. We only had like 7 guys there, maybe 6 or 7 guys there. So it was a lot of one-on-one training. So it was great.
Awesome.
So pistol, that was my main takeaways. Like once I got my elbows up, filled in the gaps on my grip, and knowing when to use what trigger pull, that was a big part of it. And like my confidence went up so much throughout the day. And then
Jason, so real quick, Jason, sometimes when I do what he's talking about, when Miss is talking about, when I bring my elbows up, and some people may see this, there's a too much point, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but you go too much because then your grip starts to come off the gun. So you're like, look how high I am, and you're like, no, now you've lost grip on the gun. I mean, do you care, Jason, about having this lower portion of your hand on the pistol? Because I kind of go back and forth in the way that I do it.
So I personally try to keep those touching. Like I mind the gap. I don't like seeing a gap. And then the other thing that I do when I have my elbow up, I tend to have my left elbow up a little higher just because I'm right-handed. So it cants the gun just a little bit, but that's typically how I shoot.
So that's from Warrior Poet Society too, because he talks about how if the gun is slightly canted like that, and I do the same thing too, instead of me, it's so hard for me to go low right. Like I have to come, and so it's opposite for you guys, but so low left, I guess, whatever it is, it has to come up and then over in order to move. So when you have it just a bit canted, I do highly recommend you do that at the beginning, because it just keeps you a little bit locked in. Not like, don't do it like all crazy, but just like a couple degrees, it really will help a lot. Sorry, Misfits, keep going. Let's keep more up to date.
That's where that's where I had gotten it from originally, and I think I just kind of gotten away from it. But just having that class, it just kind of was like, oh yeah, and also once you get more practice and you realize why people do what they do, it made a lot of sense. Another thing is just a lot of dry fire like makes a huge difference, especially using the dot. Like I would probably have like no confidence, but having the dot, having to dry fire it just so that you constantly get your sights where you want them every time. Gave me a lot more confidence. I would say like the only thing about the day that I probably would really focus on is I just upgraded to a level 2 holster like a week before, and just that's just the extra part of your draw that you have to work on is getting that hood off and be able to get your pistol out. But I mean, even that is just reps. That's exactly.
All. For your red dot, which style red dot do you have, if you mind me asking?
I have the Hollison 507.
Okay, so same as I do. I consider that one to have training wheels, and I love the training wheels because it gives you that super huge ring. So like if you're a little bit off, you're like when you come up, and I don't know if you've done it, but shooting with just a 2 MOA dot can be a little more challenging because you only have that tiny little dot, particularly in the daytime. Where if you have the big ring, I'm always like, whoa, whoops, there we go. I corrected that pretty quick. We'll get to Coops in a second. I'll get to it now. Do you guys use the isosceles or the Weaver? I think Weaver stance died in like 1995.
Yeah, neither. They use neither.
So, and it's funny. So what stance, and this is kind of the new way of teaching, is a natural stance. That I would say that is my shooting stance. I will do a natural athletic style stance. I want to be in a position where if I need to move quickly, that's the position. I'm like leg is spring loaded, ready to engage and change position. Because I'm just going to stand there on the X and fire. Cool, that gunfight's over. You lost. That's cool. That was awesome. I don't know why I did that. So you got to be able to get off the X fairly quickly. So that's why I kind of load that front leg and get in a position where that front leg is loaded, where I'm ready to just bound off if need be. Don't stand there.
Yeah.
Another big thing I want to talk about with red dots, people really overlook this. When you have the iron sights, and I give Jason hell about this because he's probably really good at it, and I just complain because I'm horrible. When you have the iron sights, though, you have multiple planes of focus, which you could say there's almost 3 planes of focus, and you just got to make sure you only focus on 2, which could make things more confusing. But sometimes you got to focus on the target, then you're back at the front sight, then you're at the target in the front sight, and you got to make sure your front sight's lined up, and then you're back at the target. So there's moments in time where you lose the target. So if you're in a gunfight, right, the last thing you want to do is look away from the threat. Like, oh, hold on, buddy. Let me make sure I got things lined up real quick. And that's why I like the red dot so much. Is I don't look at the dot. I'm 100% threat focused, and I can just worry about the threat. Some people still say like, well, if you want to be super accurate, focus on the dot. We talk about what you said. Well, if I'm going to take a 50-yard shot, yeah, I'm going to change my plane of focus to the dot because now I want to get a super accurate shot. But otherwise, I need to be focused on the threat because I need to pay attention to what they're doing. So that's why I like red dots. I'm trying to sell Jason on the red dots. I think I've got him interested. You have 2, don't you? You have 2 you've been trying out.
Yeah, and I do like red dots. It's just so my main gun that I carry for work is a Glock 23. It's issued by my agency, so I'm not going to go have that thing milled out on my own dime. And I hate 40 cal, so I'm not willing to buy a personal Glock 23 and have it milled out and put a red dot on it. So it just doesn't make sense for me to.
So you have to train it because you have to be proficient in it. So you have to train it.
Yeah, I mean, I could. I'm totally within my right to go buy a Glock 23, have the slide milled, put an RMR on it. But now you're talking about dropping, well, $500 for the gun, $500 for the optic, plus the slide getting milled. It all has to be Glock parts. So besides the red dot, so I'd have to buy like a true Glock 23. I can't buy a aftermarket slide. It's just weird rules that my agency has. So no, I'm just not interested. So Joe said, I was told to use a stance that I would have as if I was about to fight.
Yeah, think of it like that. When you got to punch somebody, like you're about to get into a fight, and you're getting but hey, we're about to fight, and you get in that stance, you don't even think about it. That's the same stance.
See, I don't get into that stance. I says, see, I'm really good with irons, and now going to a red dot and pistol, it's a struggle. Reps, eyes wide shut. Joe, right? Golly, I keep forgetting your name. Sorry. So Joe, reps. If you get a chance, go watch Walsh's Zero to YouTube Hero series that he did. He did a series, specifically on the red dot. And that is actually what I watched when I started throwing a red dot on my personal Glock 19. It works wonders. It would really help out, Joe. But going back to the stance, I don't have my I don't know, support foot back that far. So I'm pretty squared off. I might have my lead foot forward just a hair, but that's how I shoot. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we do, I hate our quals because it's like, okay, stand at 7 yards. Okay, 3 to the chest. Okay, we're going to go back to 15 yards. I'm not a fan of that. So I think that if it was a real life scenario, you're gonna shoot the gun, whatever position that you're in, whatever your habit is. That's just what you're gonna go to. So training a habit that you're comfortable with, and that that when crap hits a fan, your muscle memory is just gonna go back to that stance.
Yeah, like I don't know how many of you have shot at full sprint, because that's probably the speed you're gonna be running. Like, I'm not very accurate at that. Go moving.
There's a lot of things that are different. I went through this active shooter training at a school one time, or a mock school, and one of the things that they were really big at, you kind of see these guys on videos like SWAT team where they're kind of crouched down and they have their gun up and they're bent knees and they're I don't know, like shadow walking or ninja walking. It seems like down these hallways and clearing rooms, and they were really big about going away from that and saying no, just be normal, like walk normal, right? You have your gun out, you kind of the same way that you would shoot at the range, you're doing the same thing as you're walking around if there was an active shooter scenario or active shooter situation.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so did you think you learned more? I know you're going to get into the rifle more. Do you think the rifle bit, do you think you learned more from the pistol or from the rifle side?
Pistol.
Okay. And I say that I think that's generally true because I think it's way more complicated. I don't have a lot of rifle training, but I can still look pretty, like Joe, Eyes Wide Shut, he gives me hell. He's like, you look proficient. Like, yeah, but I don't train it because there's so many more points of contact where I got 5 points of contact with the rifle. Like I can get in the same position every time. I got a good archery background. I understand, anchor points. So you can look really proficient with zero training, where pistols, you have 2 points of contact, and if you mess up one, they both have to be solid. So, all right. So tell us about the rifle part then.
So rifle was, I mean, to me, rifle is all about adding movement to it or transitions. That's what we really move, because you can stand at 10 yards and put everything in a corner with the rifle. And you can teach that to almost anybody. So one thing I really liked was that he added a lot of movement and transitions to it. So it's like we did a drill where we started at we have a marker like 50, 40, 30, 20, 10-yard line. And then we would start at like the 50, and he would say, all right, 2 to the head at 20 yards. And then we were like, not like a full out sprint, but run up to the line, put your shots, and then he would, as soon as everybody's done, he would call out a different one. Because a big part is be able to put accurate shots downrange with your heart rate up and you're moving. Yeah. You got to find the dot. To me, that's much more realistic than just like standing at like 25 or 10 or 50 yards, just putting holes in paper. So there was a lot of movement. So like getting your heart rate up, and then also transitioning, and not just transitioning in like a tight space also. So he did, it was like a quad drill where it was like 2 barrels, and they had barrels. It was like maybe kind of like a hallway. So you had to tightly transition from at like different corners. So you had like a high left, bottom left, top right, bottom right, and you had to pull out your muzzle, get it down, and then fire on like still, and then had to kind of pull it back towards you, get it back up to the top quadrant, and then be able to just like make those transitions, and get it to where that rifle is just a part of you when
Right.
you're moving. You're not getting caught up in your sling or your chest rig. Just that was the main thing.
Yeah.
And something that I probably would have struggled a lot with if it wasn't for dry fire was moving from support shoulder from my primary shoulder so moving from right to left shoulder. Probably like a month ago, literally, I was like, I gotta learn how to do this because like before I was like I just had never tried it. I'd seen people do it. I was like, this looks difficult. I did it like 1 or 2 times. I was like, this is awkward. I can't do it.
Yeah,
But then
even
I
I
was
don't
like,
know because I'll have it, and I don't ever know if it's like for like I do it, but I don't know. Like I don't know if that's the right step. So show everybody the steps you do.
So basically, the way that he taught us is that you start out with your support hand, and then you take your watch should be your left, but your primary hand, and you put it out because you can hold your rifle up with just your shoulder and your hand. So
Yeah.
basically, you can just keep it right here, and then you just put your primary hand out, and then kind of slide it down to find the trigger guard, and then change shoulders. And
So you
we
so you
just worked on
slide
that.
down. So you slide down before swapping. You don't kind of do them in tandem. So it'd be like
You
this.
can do it
Come
in
forward.
tandem in order to like get it faster, but I think as like the training, just trying to get good reps in.
Yeah.
He had us do that.
No, smart.
But like as I got faster, I could as I'm sliding back and as I kind of take the weight, I would do it all at the same time. But having done the like dry fire and getting used to that transition made it a whole lot easier. When I
Nice.
felt like after like cleaning up a couple of things with it, like sliding my hand down so that I was finding the trigger guard, coming back and changing back and forth, and just remember to like put safety on and put it off.
Yeah, you kind of just getting that
Yeah.
would just be muscle memory.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
one thing that kind of bugged me within the team is just this kind of epiphany I had I didn't have this epiphany. I heard this, that most people would rather have someone who has a crappy weapon and training than have someone with a good weapon and no training. So I started to think of myself like, what asset am I to the team? Like, oh man, dude, I'm the loose cannon. I'm the muzzle they got to watch for. Because it's like, Walsh don't know what he's doing. He's going to be flagging everybody. He's just going to be doing a bunch of dumb stuff. So it's interesting to see you having to go through those movements in a barricade where it's like, okay, this seems nuanced, but then we as teammates would be like, okay, cool, we're confident. We know what you're going to do when you come out to a barricade. So then we're not like, oh, crap. Oh, he flagged me. Like, oh, fantastic.
Right.
Well, that's it also shows you where your own faults are. I mean, it's time for self-reflection. I remember when we were doing this deployment training, we had kind of what you were talking about, Misfit, where we had a line of guys and gals, and it was walking towards the targets and at different intervals. I think it was at 100 yards, we dropped prone and we fired 3. And then at 50, we went to a knee. And at 10, it was standing. And then it was turn around and walk back. And the same thing. So at 50, you had to turn around, face the target, drop to a knee, and shoot. And that's where you see, and we're talking about, I don't know why the instructors are doing this, but when it was after my turn, when I was taking a step back and I was watching the next team do it and seeing how many people, because they said, okay, you get to 50, muzzle up, flip around to face backwards, and then you bring the muzzle down. There were so many people that just like flipped around and just lasered everybody as they were doing it. So it's really it should be a point of self-reflection where, I hate using the term constructive criticism as an oxymoron. Like, it's necessary criticism when we're talking about gun things. So having a notebook with you when you're out training and you can say, hey, these are the things that I screwed up on. This is, I saw you writing down.
I could go get mine. I could go get mine too.
Yeah. So it's hugely, hugely, hugely important. I cannot stress enough that if you were to go do training like this, take a notebook and be open to criticism. It's not, again, I hate the term constructive criticism, necessary criticism, because it is something that you need to fix. So you're not lasering your friends when you're, clearing a house or something when the end of the world happens.
I think it's a good thing to be at, like, totally, because I like to look at, we laughing at Brownings, yeah.
Oh yeah, because he's absolutely correct.
Like a loose cannon. What I do, and I use that
Walsh
for all
is the
different
loose cannon.
Yeah. Sometimes. I use that in all disciplines. Like if I'm going to go shoot long range, like it's funny that we have Coops in here. He was actually helping me a bunch when I was shooting long range, and I would write down the notes in my book that he would kind of say like, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I'll write it down. And then before I went to go shoot, I would review my notes, right? And I'd look at, okay, here's what I need to remember. Instead of just like, all right, here we go, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, what am I working on? And you get like 50 rounds in and you're like, what am I working on today? Like, I'm just all over the place. And then you're frustrated. Whereas if you have that plan, you're like, okay, focus on, like you said, focus on my grip, my sport hand grip. Or with me, it was shooting long range. There's always like, Walsh, put your feet down. I'm like, they are down. Like, no, put your ankles down.
Yeah. Well, that's super good. So, and having a plan when you go out to train. So I went out recently and I really wanted to practice. At work, we never practice drawing from concealment. We always have a duty belt on, and that's what we're drawing from. And so on my own, I went out and I wanted to practice drawing from concealment and reloading from concealment, like a very specific training. So it was gun and holster, 1 round in the mag, had a mag in my mag pouch that had 1 round in it. So it was draw, fire, reload, fire, and just keep practicing that repetition. So even if you, especially now when ammo's scarce, a 50-round box of ammo, that's a lot of reps that you can get out on the range if you're just doing 1 and 1. Mm-hmm. So great piece of advice, Walsh, to write down what you're doing wrong and plan your training for when you go out. Because especially now, ammo is scarce, and that stuff is like gold. Use it wisely.
Yeah, and Brownie's making fun of me some more, so we're gonna skip his comments. But Misfit, one more thing that the team really did for me that helped was snap caps, and I say that would probably be the next level for you. That really got me over any sort of shot anticipation, because I started to think, like, you start to think that there's snap caps in the gun, right? So you're like, oh, I don't want to flinch, but then there's like, you may load one and not actually have snap caps in there. So you shoot a whole clip clean and you're like, oh man. And then the next one, there really are snap caps in there. And then you see yourself like dive down. You're like, ugh. And then you start focusing on it. Once you see yourself dive down once, now you have a cotton, you recognize you're doing it, and it's much easier to fix. If you never see it and you're like, man, I don't know why I'm shooting low. And then you put that one snap cap in, you're like, oh, I'm doing that. Snap caps are huge. From a training aid, like I'm with Jason, if you take 50 rounds and then throw in 5 or 10 snap caps, you've almost tripled your ammo you got. You know what I mean? So like keep mixing it up. You got a clip of 5 and then 4 malfunctions, which is, oh, Brownie, what's wrong with you today? You're supposed to be on my team.
No. Throw the next one up that Joe put. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. The magazine. Sorry. Oh my God. The internet's going to end. Like they're going to come in. The whole internet's going to come in from outside, and they're going to come in here and just beat me for saying the word clip.
How dare you?
Oh, get them before you wash. Yeah.
All right, Misfit. So what else you got? What else did you learn?
Yeah, that was also something that Jason. So running with your rifle is something that I don't think a lot of people think about, but be able to like move and transition with it and not flagging everybody, and like finding like a comfortable position to run in. Like for me, I kind of like footballed it, so I just put like the stock under my armpit and just kind of like did it that way. So it was always like vertical with me. But also like when we did work on target transitions, it was like short distance. So like we had like 3 spots, and we would go to be able to like get that rifle off your body in order to run like that like short distance, because like everyone was like keep it like attached to you, but you really want to like disconnect from it so you can like sprint out for that 10 yards or 5 yards and then get to where your spot is and be able to remount quickly. To me, that was the thing, because like when you're walking around your house, you're not like running full speed. So I think that's something that most people don't think about.
That's weird. And so one thing that Jason told me one time, I was working on rifle stuff and just trying to get my correct cheek weld. And he was like, all right. And this is kind of funny. Have you ever done any of this stuff with kit on? Like, do you ever wear a plate carrier when you do it?
Yeah. So I ran with my chest rig for the rifle. Because
Jason tells me, he was like, awesome, Walsh. It's great you learned all that. Now put your kit on and throw it all out the window, because it no longer applies. Like you kind of have to, depending on which carrier we use, and I kind of try to show that, I have to adapt my cheek weld a little bit for each different carry, and some of them I can't use at all, where it's like it's literally where my cheek weld is, like I can't get it, and now I'm having to shoot out here, like, oh, this sucks. So good on you for using your chest rig. Do you have a plate carrier at all?
Yes, yeah, I do have a plate carrier, but it was super hot that day, so I was like, I don't want to kill myself out here.
It's a little hot. It's a little hot. But you can put your water in the back. You can zip it on.
Oh,
just
no.
shush.
That'd be such a bad idea. Carrying around like a 20-pound.
Somebody had to have done it. Somebody at your class had to have done it. Had the zipped on backpack.
There was one guy that had a plate carrier on, and he wasn't having fun at the end of the day.
Like, I made a poor choice today. See, okay, so I was in my last video making fun of some of the front plate placards that use the chest rigs, because I'm like, what are you going to use this for? I may have to adjust that to say, hey, maybe this is good for a class. Then it's really
hot. Hold on. Well, I got to say something here. So Harry says, I do, LOL. I think he's referencing to running around the house. Harry, can you clarify that for us, please?
Yeah, because we do. Yeah, we do need. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
But Harry's an accountant. Like, that does surprise me. Can you imagine his like suit and tie with his plate carrier on, running around his house?
He's got those level 4 plates too.
That's true. Oh, Harry. Yeah. You should be doing that, running around the house. Yeah.
Well, so Misfit, after your class, so you say you were kind of like mid. What would you rate yourself in rifle from 1 to 10 before you started?
Rifle, I was like a 7. I mean, I can put, but I feel like everybody is pretty solid with rifle. Like it's really hard to be bad, honestly.
And it is. And so I was kind of talking to Eyes Wide Shut, Joe, one of our patrons, about that, because he wants me to do a 0 to YouTube hero for rifles. And I think it's a really good idea to kind of go into that again, because it sounds funny, but I'm not particularly well versed in rifles. I'm not super trained on it. I haven't done the reps. But if you watch the videos, you're like, oh, Walsh can shoot rifle really well. Like, no, not really. Like, not really. It doesn't take much effort, particularly when you're doing transitions. I bumble some reloads. Like, I don't show a lot of my rifle reloads because they're usually embarrassing. So that's something I need to work on. But I kind of shared, like, it's a lot of mechanics. And it's not so much like a pistol where you're having to learn the recoil. Like, you just, like, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's not like you're shooting a musket, right? You got to figure out how to like reload it once every 3 minutes or something like that. Yeah. Packing in powder. It's easy to deal with.
So after your class, what would you say from 1 to 10 you would rate your pistol skills at?
Now, probably about a 7 or like an 8. Like I feel much more confident with it.
And that's the one I want to hit on. That's what I feel like I have. When I finished my red dot video, I had what I called red dot confidence. I know if I draw the gun, the red dot's there. And that was massive, where I could be like, it doesn't matter. Like I could just be like, it doesn't matter. Watch this. Whoop, there it is. And that was huge from a concealed carry, or like you need to engage something, you're in a horrible situation. I'm not going to think about it. We are running. We're going crazy. I got my red dots out. And the confidence piece, I think, was the biggest one for me. Like, I don't have to worry about it. I know the red dots.
Well, you did it as like, I forgot the word that you used, but it was like a reward, right? Like if you drew and the red dot wasn't there, you don't get to pull the trigger. Remember going through that?
Yeah.
But if the red dot was there, the reward was pulling the trigger. And so having it be that you had to train yourself to get that reward was a really good piece of advice. It really helped me out.
Yeah, and it really does work out well when you have to. You're almost like upset. You're like, you come up and you're like, oh, I don't get to engage. And then even from an engagement standpoint, you don't want to engage if you don't see the dot. Like, I'm just gonna rip them off.
Well, there's certain things where that would apply though. Like there's a story I remember of a cop who talked about. They got a call to shots fired. He showed up, and there was a guy with an AK that just started peppering his car. So first thing he did, he popped open the door, stood out, and he just got rounds down. He wasn't even aiming. He was just pop, 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 right? Try to get the guy behind cover or something. And then he said after he got about 6 shots off, then it was slow and steady, boom, boom, just getting very solid shots. I mean, using his sights and focusing in. But, you don't want to do that regularly and just have shots flying all over the place. But there's a time and a place where getting rounds downrange is more important than your accuracy downrange, if that makes sense.
As we talk about different situations, like particularly even if we knew we're actively engaging something and I knew you're getting to cover, like I'm Jason's my teammate or something, and he's got to get to cover. I don't really like. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to engage, like get the threat to respond and hopefully hit them. But even then, like, okay, he has time. They're going to be having to deal with things coming at them.
Right, and communication. So we had this thing when I was at deployment training where we had to bound back. So bounding is you leave one guy in front, he's covering you while the rest of the team kind of runs back, and then they set up a defensible position. Then you. So I was the first one to set up defense and started late. We had paintball or simunitions that we were shooting. So shooting sims down at the instructors, and the guy behind me. This was fantastic. So the guy behind me, he tells me they're good. So I get up and I start moving, and I trip and fall. And I have my paraclete on. I have my gun. I'm probably hit like 60 pounds extra weight on me. And so I trip and I just start falling forward, and I tuck my chin and I roll into a somersault and come up totally by accident. Like I did not plan to do it. It was as I was going down, just going, oh crap, right? Let's see if we could do this so it doesn't hurt as much. Roll into a somersault, get up, and I start running. And afterwards, the guy, George, was like, dude, that was freaking awesome. I can't believe you did that. I said, purely accident, dude. It was all, I honestly tripped. I did not mean to do a somersault out there. But like the amount of the intensity of the training that we were in, it was just, they made it seem like it was so real. Like I need to get away from this guy because simunitions hurt like heck. If I catch one to the face, that's gonna be a bad day. And so I want to get away from this and trip on a root and fall down, and now I'm a legend.
Yeah. Well, Misfit, that's awesome. We appreciate you coming out. Any other final tips you have for us from your classes? You're going to do some more? What are your thoughts next?
Yeah, I definitely want to do probably at least like one class, like maybe like per quarter or so. That's what I would at least try to, because I feel like it's always more to learn, especially as you go to like maybe like a pistol 2 class, like a rifle 2 class, working on more transition, shooting on the move, just learning more. And something that we also for pistol that really is more about red dots than iron sights was we talked about be able to find your sights in the window, but also how much it shifts if it's in the window, but it's like the far right or the far left, like the bottom or the top of the window, and seeing how much your spread changes from that versus iron sights. I thought that was really interesting to see how much of a spread there was if even if you don't get it centered in the window. So it was just a lot of like good information. I recommend everybody like taking a class, getting out there and actually doing it. And you don't have to spend a whole bunch of money. Like take like your Glock or your SIG stock, get an arrow or whatever. But I mean, I went out there with my arrow build with the Romeo 5 and was able to shoot with everybody that had. Dude,
that's what I'm talking about. Arrow build, Romeo 5. You probably had some Gucci dummies over there who were just like, look at me, my Geisley handguard, like $400.
I mean, it was some guys with like solid gear. I mean, you had like guys like with like like high speed triggers, and like they had like 1 to 8s or 1 to 10s. But I mean, honestly, in terms of like being able to be accurate and shooting it, like if you're good with the red dot, you can stretch it out to 100 easily. I mean, so
this is a good segue.
100%.
What's your zero?
Mine was at 50.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So then we kind of talk about that. I share that as kind of a favorite zero. It's kind of one thing Joe talked to me about, because a 50, 200. So you're like out from 50 to 200. You're like an inch. That whole range. It's like not that big of a deal.
It's a good.
So once you guys, Harry, want to say thanks, Misfit, for coming out here. I really do appreciate you. I would love to have you on here more. We're always learning, and we're always learning from each other. That's awesome. I'm always learning from these guys, or even I'm sharing. I didn't even know that in my secret methods, I'm teaching Jason how to shoot red dots, which is awesome. He'd probably never tell me that unless we're on live chat. He'd be like, nah, man, you don't teach me anything.
Yeah, that's true.
If my head gets any bigger, I won't be able to get through the door. So he knows how it works.
That is true too.
I did want to segue for just a minute and talk about this Wilder tactical belt. I really want to get your impressions, Jason. And I know you have a really good belt that everyone wants to hear about. But I really did like this belt. I was kind of surprised when I saw it. That's a lot of dogs. I thought when I saw it that I wouldn't like that it wasn't like as sturdy as they normally are, but the thinness and the lightness of it made it so I could actually wear it with civilian clothes. Like this is way more of a civilian setup instead of like military, like OCPs and all that stuff, where you could just throw this on regular clothes and it's like, yep, that's cool. You don't have a 30-pound belt on. You just have this light little thing on. They're going to send me the right. I know I spilled those magazines out when I was messing with. These are awesome. These are absolutely awesome. But they're going to send me the correct pouches, so they won't. All my mags don't come spilling out like they were in the video. What was your thought on this belt, Jason?
I think that you need to get the correct mag pouches.
I do, and I know I joked about how big this is. This
yeah, but it falls down pretty. I tell you the one that I really like, and I don't typically run a dump pouch, but the one that Cody has on his is a Warrior Pro Society.
That blue Alpha Gear one?
Blue Alpha Gear.
Blue Force Gear, yeah.
Blue Force Gear. I always forget the golly. Yeah, those two stupid companies. I like that dump pouch, but I just don't have a dump pouch on my belts at all. So I like that belt though. I actually bought some of the components. So they make a handcuff carrier because I have a handcuffs on my belt, and then some of the mag pouches, the angled mag pouches I want to try out.
Did you get the angled ones?
I got the angled ones, yeah, and then I bought that med kit, the pouch.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. I still got He-Man on there. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I want that.
Yeah, the
pouch.
angled ones. I didn't think they were going to be as fast as they were. I think it was. You've seen my reloads before. Like I trained for a while, and then switching to this, I would just like instantaneous, man. I was like, wow. Like that makes a big difference. I didn't think just changing a small like angle like that would really matter at all. And the big one that I liked is now it's much easier to clear my plate carrier. So I have kind of like the best of both worlds, where I don't have to worry about either one or any junk in the way. I can just easily just snag it and reload. So yeah, it was cool. Yeah, I was really happy with what these guys did. I didn't think something as simple as just having these big panels would be like.
Yeah, I would have never thought that.
Yeah. But then when I did that, I was like, well, you could just slide these in and out and change. Like I could switch it over to you. Like, hey, Walsh, can I use your belt? Like any other belt, I'd be like, dude, we're gonna need like 45 minutes to like readjust everything. It's gonna be impossible. It's not even gonna be worth it. With this one, I'd be like, yeah, just give me a screwdriver. It'll give me like 2 minutes. We'll just switch everything around, and you can use it right-handed.
Except for that UBL, you still gotta, because you're a lefty, you have to like unweave that whole thing. Yeah, so it'd still take 45 minutes because you suck.
We're still working with. I keep forgetting. I was going to say North Face. That's not what it is. True North
modular holster.
You don't want North Face adapters. True North. I'm still working with them. I'm going to just buy one, I think, and run the True North adapters because a True North adapter on this would make this like perfect. Then you just switch everything out and be done.
Yeah. So I have 2 of them. I would send you one, but no. So
$6. Yeah, I understand that.
So for those of you that we're thinking about doing a review of one of these, so the True North modular holster adapter allows you to.
I'll pull it up.
It allows you to mount your holster through MOLLE without having to weave it through a normal belt. Really cool design, and then they have holes drilled so you can mount Safariland holsters to it. I have the QLS forks on mine, not the grips. The other thing, though, so the one that I bought is that broken crayon logo one. So it's a second. It's blemished. I honestly can't see anything wrong with it. I got a black one and a brown one. I'm never gonna do anything else on my battle belts except for this, because you don't have to worry about weaving anything through it. It goes right through the MOLLE. It would be super easy on that Welder tactical belt. And then you really could use a screwdriver to just take everything apart and hand it over to me, and us be able to run share belts if we were able to do that.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, I think I'm just going to order one. I know they were talking about working with us, letting us show some on the channel. They were waiting for some of their they wanted to wait and send us one of their thigh rigs or something. I was like, it doesn't matter, man. Let me just run that. I just want to see it and show it to everybody. It's way cooler. Misfit, what do you run? What do you run for a battle belt?
I got a Safe Light belt, and this is just like when I first got into it, and I didn't know any better.
Are they bad? No. Hold on, though. because we get a lot of people who say that if we show a really good belt, they're like, hey, why aren't you running the Safe Light belt? I'm like, man, they don't return our calls, so we don't try one. I've heard good things.
Yeah, I
especially
mean,
from the duty side.
honestly, like it's been a solid belt for me. Like first thing, like it's a really stiff belt. Like it comes in like a 3 foot long, just like long package. Like it's
Like
that.
a poster?
Yeah, it's like a long tube. That's how it comes. Super stiff, but and it's a 2 inch wide belt, so it's a little bit more there. But in terms of like mounting up, it's the same thing. It has like the little like Molly panels that you can just like mount it to. It's a solid belt. I haven't had any problems with it. Has a solid Cobra buckle. I sized it down, but it's just stiff. And like after like a full day of class, I could tell like it was kind of uncomfortable. But like if you're just running it, I would say a couple hours, it would probably be fine. But especially whether you Safariland, like where you have to thread it on, just like yours, you could eventually like feel that kind of like putting pressure on your hip.
And a lot of people were complaining about that. And that's kind of where we started talking about the True North adapter. A lot of the duty guys were saying, hey, I can't use those UBLs. What's another option? And that's when Jason was really kind of digging into that. He's like, hey, check this out. And he tried it. He's like, this is amazing.
Yeah, I absolutely love it.
And I usually, I had made the mistake when I first did belt reviews of commenting that the stiffer the belt, the better. And that, like you said, is not always the case. Particularly if it's really stiff, then you can't get it around your body shape, or it doesn't shape to you well, or it's uncomfortable and there's nothing you can do about it. That's why I like that Wilder one, because it had plenty of give, or something was poking. I'm just like, there you go, you're back in place. And it just has some move to it. So I like that comfort to it. I don't know if I would wear it for like a duty belt, but I have one of those. I'm going to send it to Jason because I actually ordered the wrong size. He's just a little bit more girthy than me, not much, but I got just a little bit too big. It's one of those BFG CHLKs. From a duty standpoint too, Jason would more likely to use like this style of actual duty belt. But it's super stiff. Like it's like there's no bendability to make it not stiff. It's just locked in position, but it's bent in a way it's like around like the body shape. But it's not my most comfortable. You would think that like, all right, let's make it as stiff as possible. Like, wow, that's not the most comfortable. It's probably the most load bearing, but it's not like, oh, I don't feel like I'm wearing a belt. Like, nope.
Yeah. So my current duty belt that I've used for the last 4 years is your standard like Bianchi typical cop duty belt. There's by the time you get everything on it, there's basically no Velcro between that belt and your inner belt. And then you have keepers that you have to run along because you're going to draw your gun or something and the whole belt's riding up. So finding a battle belt that I could use for duty stuff has been very difficult. So I have a Gray Ghost Gear one that I'm really testing out. And I took it out to the range when we had our qual. And one of my coworkers was just because all of us have that Bianchi crappy belt. So he sees that and he goes, oh, what is this thing? Like, this looks really cool. And I said, yeah, check this out. Like, no keepers. I don't need to worry about keepers. This thing is like Velcroed to my belt. It's not going to go anywhere. So I'm not a huge fan of that belt, but I have a couple other ones that I'm testing out that I think I'm going to like more.
Okay, yeah. So let's go into we're starting to run low on time, but let's start doing some future chat. Videos, the belt you're working on so we're going to do 2 Amazon belts. So we're going to compare, and one of them is really good and one of them is really bad, and we won't ruin that for you. But we are really surprised. Like Jason keeps telling me about how much he's like, dude, I have this $25 belt, and he's like, I think this is like my go-to for like a truck belt. And I'm like, really? That good?
I've heard of that one. Yeah.
You probably know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah. So I don't mind. I mean, it's a Tacticon belt, and it is. I was telling Walsh, like, this is probably my favorite belt. It's not. I don't know if I would say it's a duty belt. I don't know if I would trust my life to it, but I might. I like it better than my Gray Ghost Gear belt, which was 4 times as pricey. I have a couple other belts that I'm working on as well, but that Tacticon one, man, for $20 is my favorite one so far.
That's the best, man. We should just run. We need to run like a doo-doo build. Like we just run Tacticom belt, a PSA, and then run just like all high-end optics, and then just like straight Safariland holsters.
I can't remember if I told you, Walsh, this, but a friend of mine, he's retired military. He works in a gun store in Colorado, and he has this. He's one of their gunsmiths. So he takes like this guy came in with a Daniel Defense barrel that had like 20,000 rounds to it or something. Like the rifling was gone at the throat and at the muzzle end. So he decided, like, I'm going to take all these crap parts, like an NC Star handguard and some crappy sling, and it was like a $200 AR that he put together. And he goes and shoots competitively, and he's placing like second and third place out in Colorado with this. And people are fierce because they got these $2,700 Daniel Defense guns, and here he is with his Frankenstein build that you borescope the barrel, man, and the rifling is gone. I mean, there's like no rifling at all, and here he is shooting, winning competitions.
That's why I told Joe I want to do the Zero to YouTube Hero rifle series, because then I can just show up with some of these doo-doo guns. I mean, most of ours aren't total doo-doo, but I would love to just show up with some just rotten garbage and then just run it. And be like, what in the world? Like, what gun is that? Like, it's a barrel I dug out of the trash on the way here. So Joe said, I have the Tacticon belt pouch. I have
he says the belt, each pouch costs more than the belt, which is accurate. So when I add that to my cart, Amazon recommends like, hey, what about this AR mag pouch? What about these pistol mag pouches? And I'm going, why am I going to spend double on this pistol mag pouch? Like, I already have some pistol mag pouches I'll use, but absolutely accurate, Joe. So belt was like $27. Each of the pouches is like $25. No,
okay,
thank you.
See this comment. I don't know if you saw this, Jason. Me and Joe were laughing about this one. He says, I gotta say I was surprised on the review of his belt. Looked pretty awesome. He was talking about the Wilder Tactical. Too bad Walsh's opinion is irrelevant because he's an idiot and didn't even have the belt buckle. Did you guys see this comment?
I did see that comment. Yeah.
Like he's like, the guy's like, how could you even know? Are you big wannabe? Like, what? I'm a
just
moron.
Another YouTube wannabe.
Yeah, like, I'm in my backyard. Yeah. Literally in my yard, dancing around like an idiot, and they're like, "Oh, he's just trying. He don't even connect his belt up." Like, that's a leg strap, number one. But number two, how more ridiculous can I get in this whole like, I'm not taking this seriously, and you shouldn't either. I love that. It made like my night. I was like, I can't believe this. Like, thank you.
I saw that comment. I meant to. I was thinking to myself, like, I should text Walsh and see how he feels, because I bet he's pretty happy with this comment right now. We love negative comments. Like, we really do. It's like we're sitting there bored and going through comments and like, you're an idiot. Like, oh, this is great. Okay,
this is great.
Because we say like everyone, please give us comments. We love when you have horrible things to say, because those are the most fun. I love being like, oh, you're sweet too. I love giving you hugs and kisses. Yeah. But then like the ones that are like, you're a complete idiot. Like, oh my God, I waited for this. Like when someone commented, I didn't know what I was talking about on the ATN video. Yeah. I was like, I waited all day for this comment, and thank you for giving this to me, because it's making my day.
What a horrible optic, by the way. Oh,
that horrible. So Brownie. Okay, I got 2 votes for the Zero to Hero. Okay, I'll do the rifle one, because then I can say I'm a little bit. I probably should be a little more proficient with my rifle. My reloads are bad. Like, y'all are gonna see them.
They are.
Like, you have hidden. I have hidden the fact how bad my reloads are, because I can just go on. I can just keep doing takes over and over again and get like one good one out of 50. And you guys aren't like realizing how many it's taking to get one good one.
Yeah. So I don't know if the viewers are aware, but we always, at the end of our videos, after the little credits, we always add a little blooper from our video. And so Walsh's most recent one was showing how bad he was at reloading. Right at the end, he goes to do a reload and like slams the mag in and grabs it, and then the magazine falls out. Oh, that was awesome. It was great. Bolt forward, Walsh. Why'd you have to bolt forward? So we try to hide little.
I'm gonna try and pull it up real quick.
It's kind of like an Easter egg for us. Yeah. So it's kind of like an Easter egg for us, because we always try to, whenever one of us posts, I want to watch the whole thing, but I want to see what the blooper is at the end. Like my blooper for my video coming out tomorrow, I watched it and I've watched it probably like 6 or 7 times, and I still laugh out loud. Like my kids come running into the room to figure out, what are you laughing about? This must be awesome. And then I have them listen to it. It's just, it was a great experience that I had when I was out camping. Oh, Walsh.
Okay. So I got, yeah. So if you guys don't know, there is a blooper hidden at the end of every video. So I'm going to show this one. I'm gonna try and put it so you guys can see it. Is it full screen? Close enough?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Oh, you got to be kidding me. We'll fix that. Hold on. Stupid ad. Get out of here. I love how I just looked down.
You just gotta look down at it, like, of course, so this is what happened.
And of course, I'm like trying to record it. Like I'm trying, like I just looked down.
You just gotta look down at it, like, of course, so this is what happened.
And of course, I'm like trying to record. Okay. It. Like, I'm trying, like I don't know how that's happening.
Is that coming from your computer?
I think so. Okay. I don't know how that's happening.
Why are we on a constant loop?
Aha! Okay, I fixed it. Somehow I joined our chat after the video ended. It just joined. Like, hey, the live chat's going. Let's go and join that for you.
So, Joe made a comment. He said, "I still say a blooper video would be great."
To do a whole one video of just all the bloopers.
So I thought about this because I think of how much fun. So my trip that I have tomorrow, or the video that's coming out tomorrow of my trip that I had, it will tons of bloopers in it, and a lot of stuff I cut out. So just thinking about some of them are just hilarious. But again, there's going to be that little special one at the end of my video tomorrow.
Yeah, usually there's a whole, I would say in one video, there's probably at least 5 or 10 good bloopers, and I have to pick one. And usually though, we show it even to each other. Like I always share my bloopers before we finish, and the whole group starts laughing.
So one that didn't make the cut of my video, because I didn't check with Matt first to see if he would be okay with this, but I feel okay sharing it. So Matt with Disillusion 1811, he's got another YouTube channel. Him and I went camping up near Mount Hood, and he had this water filter that it's pump activated. So he pulls this thing out and he gets in the water. He's like, okay, so this is a penis pump. He starts laughing. He goes, oh, no, okay, Jason, I'm filming him. And he goes, hey, let's cut that. And I didn't. It's still in the video. So yeah, we got some great bloopers that we could use.
So Jason, so Harry's saying, I agree. I laughed at the one when Jason said, so Harry, a little bit of background. Jason's going back and forth with me. I'm like, hey man, like I was been kind of helping Jason with the editing at that point, and he's, now he does it all. And he was like, yeah, well, I don't have a blooper for this one. I was like, really? Like, what? You don't have anything? He's like, well, I have one thing I said, but I think it's kind of like, I don't know, I think it's kind of stupid. I was like, well, we'll send it over and let me see if I can. Let me see it, and then I'll take a look. He's like, okay, I'll upload it. And it's that one where he's like, blah blah blah. Who cares? But I just like died laughing, and I'm like, no, dude, that's going in. Like that's fantastic. See, they do know about our bloopers that are hidden in the end of every video. Okay, well, let's wrap it up real quick. Let's just kind of talk about what we have coming up. Jason, what do you got on? You share what you got on Friday, and I'll
so I talked about a little bit. So Matt from Disillusion 1811 and myself, we went camping up to the Upper Twin Lakes, which is in the Mount Hood, Oregon wilderness area, and it's a great video. I really enjoy it. But there is definitely some lessons learned. So that video is going to be dropping tomorrow. And then next week is going to be a belt review for Grey Ghost gear. And we have a new holster from Chuck with 1441 gear. So we're going to be highlighting that as well. Awesome holster. Love that guy.
If we haven't said that, we love 1441 gears holster. I use those like all day long. I am actually absolutely love. I got to get him. I want to get you guys some more reviews of his holster so you guys can see what I'm using.
I got one. Awesome. The one that I reviewed is on my belt, on my person currently.
Yeah, we need to get Chuck on here again too, though. We got to get him out here. So big shout out. Hopefully he's watching somewhere out there in YouTube land. My next one. So I was gonna do a top 3 front plate placard video. I may still. My Sunday video, I'll be honest with you, is a little bit up in the air. There's some pieces I'm missing for that video. We're working with HRT And they are really awesome. The HRT Maximus, I have to say right now, is a fantastic front plate placard. But we're working with them. We're likely going to get to see the HRT RAC plate carrier. Me and Jason are in communication about who's going to review that one. We'll figure that out. But one of the two of us will show that off to you. I think some of you in the chat have actually talked to me about that plate carrier too, about you guys liking that one. So I've been really impressed so far. So I'm either going to do that top 3 front plate placards that I really think are good and kind of go through the pros and cons. Well, you'll be surprised which one it is. You probably know what the top 3 are. Otherwise, I'm going to do the Holosun 510C, which is a fantastic optic. We've had that one for a bit. I went out to the range and did some range stuff with it probably like a month or 2 ago. Right when it was snowing out. So we have some footage we got to get out to you guys and show you guys that one. It's a good optic too. There's some pros and cons to it. I think there's some situations where it would work out for you. Sometimes it wouldn't. It really depends on your mission need. That kind of drives me to another one. I saw someone online and they were talking. I was like, man, that's a lot of flashlights you got there. They had like $2,000 in flashlights and like 3 guns. And I was like, well, that's weird. Like, wouldn't you think in a night, like if you're designing for a night mission set and you're spending that kind of money, I don't know if I would necessarily go with flashlights. And he responded, he's like, well, you know, I'm not really designing around a mission set. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm done with this conversation then. Like, what? You're just randomly putting things on guns, and that's a weird way to be.
Call it tactical.
Yeah, it's like I'm just gonna put the most expensive stuff on here and have no idea why I did it. Like, okay, well, fantastic. I love it. This conversation's over because I'm not getting involved with that. Awesome. So, but Misfit, big thanks to you. Thanks for coming out. We loved hearing your story. I think it's so awesome to hear from others about what they did and what they've learned. We'd love to have you out again. If you do some more training or some more dry firing, just hit us up. But hey, Walsh, Jason, I got some more stuff I learned. I want to do some stuff, or just come chime in on the chat.
Yeah, and so for our viewers, if you guys like this, Harry's going to be on next Thursday and talking about accounting. So stay tuned for that one.
I can't wait.
April Fools.
Tax season.
Yeah,
tax season's upon us.
I feel sick already. I'm not going to make it. So something we're going to try and do too. I have a couple other folks who are on Instagram that kind of learned how to shoot or taught themselves how to shoot. So my plan is to get some of them out. Some people don't like to go on live chats. They're a little bit apprehensive. They're like, wait, it's live? I like my Instagram life of just recording everything. So I'm trying to get some other folks out here. But if you have a good story to tell, like you want to tell a story about things that you've learned, techniques that you have, that you say, hey, work really good, things that you was like, hey, this was my epiphany moment, we would love to have you on the channel, particularly when we get so many of you that we get to talk to on a week-by-week basis, from long-range shooting to rifle shooting, pistol shooting. I don't care. I would love to have you on. I want to learn. Even the things that Misfit is saying, I'm thinking to myself like, oh, yeah, I need to clean that up a little bit with my pistol. Oh, I need to try. Like you were teaching me how to do the transitions correctly, you know? So we all are going to teach each other. Not Jason. Jason knows everything, so don't get upset.
Sure.
Accurate. Fact check true.
All right, Jason, did you want to close this out?
Yeah, same thing. So Misfit, really appreciate you hanging out with us. Man, we went over an hour. I know we always say we're going to try to stay under an hour. I don't know if you've been successful yet.
No.
Yeah. So Brownie says he's still trying to learn everything he can. It's impossible. Brownies, you're a human. Come on. Really appreciate you guys sticking with us. Love the comments. Really appreciate the involvement here. And we will see you guys next Thursday, sans Harry, because he's not going to talk to us about accounting because that's boring.
Yeah. Misfit, don't bail. We'll chat after. All right. Take care, everyone.
All right. See you guys.